Hello, dear students. I welcome you all on behalf of Sri Jayendra Rangjon classes. Dear student, we are in a continuation of the chapter that is Biodiversity and Conservation, class 12th chapter. Now we have talked about what is biodiversity, how is biodiversity, okay, where it is existing, then what are the importance, okay, that all things we have discussed. Now there is a threat of loss of biodiversity, and if you talk about nowadays, it is doubtful that if any new species are being added through the speciation or a new species formation into the earth treasury of species or earth's availability of different species, if new species is getting added, that is a doubtful. But obviously there is a no doubt about their continuous losses. And if we talk about the biological wealth of our planet, that has been declining rapidly. What is because biodiversity is declining. So complete disappearance or extinction of a species result in complete loss of genetic information. Okay, so we remember in loss of diversity, if the species are getting lost, then it is clear that the complete disappearance or extinction of a species result in complete loss of genetic information contained in it. Okay, so it is a complete loss of genetic information if there is a disappearance or extinction of a species. So if this extinction is occurring, this species loss is occurring over a period of time, now we have to discuss the types of extinction. And when we talk about the types of extinction, the first type which we discuss here, that is natural extinction. Dear student, in natural extinction, if we talk, there is a change in environmental condition, and according to the change in environmental conditions, some species get disappeared or lost, while the others get more adapted to the change condition. So the loss of species which occurred in the geological past at a very slow rate is called a natural extinction. Okay. So with the change in environment, with the change in environmental conditions, some species disappear and others which are more adapted to changed conditions take their places. So this loss of species which occurred in geological past at a very slow rate at a very slow rate is called natural extinction. Okay, so that is the thing. That is the first one. That is the natural extinction. Now, after this natural extinction, we are going to talk about the another type of extinction. This natural extinction obviously occurring naturally, and which has happened at a very slow rate in a geological past. Now, the second type of extinction, if we talk, that is mass extinction. And in mass extinction, it is known that it is a death or a removal of large number of species due to the catastrophes. So it is dying off or extermination of a large number of species due to catastrophes. Due to catastrophe. And it is known that during the long period, that is greater than 3 billion years, since the origin and diversification of life, since the origin and diversification of life on earth, there were there were 5 episodes of mass extinction of species. Okay, so these 5 episodes have been since. Okay, and 5 times due to the catastrophic, the large mass of number of species has been extincted. Now, after this, the third type is the anthropogenic extinction. And if we talk about anthropogenic extinction, it is an extermination of species. It is extermination of species caused directly or indirectly by human activities. By human activities like habitat destruction, overexploitation, hunting, pollution, etc. So habitat destruction, overexploitation, hunting, pollution, etc. These all are ultimately exterminating or removing the species directly or indirectly due to these human activities. And if we take an example of some of this, which is anthropogenic extinction, or we can say it is a man-made extinction, simply because human interference is occurring. And the example is first example is colonization of tropical Pacific island. Colonization of tropical Pacific island by human have resulted in extinction of more than 2000 species of native birds, greater than 2000 species of native bird. So 2000, more than 2000 species are lost in the tropical Pacific island due to the human. Okay, so that is the first example. The second example, if we talk here, then it is we know that the IUCN Red List, which has a list of threatened species, and this list is of 2004, and it documents the extinction of 784 species in last 500 years. So according to IUCN, 784 species have been lost in the last 500 years, and it include 338 vertebrates species, 359 invertebrate species, then 87 plants. Okay, so this many things have been extinction. And some example of important recent extinction. Then this include number one, dodo, that is from Mauritius, a bird. Then second, quagga, that is extincted from the Africa. Then third, thylacine, whose extinction is seen in the Australia. And Steller sea cow. Steller sea cow extinction is seen in the Russia. Okay. And apart from this, the three species of tiger, three subspecies, that is Bali, Javan, and Caspian of tiger, they have also recently extincted. And it is documented that in last 20 years, 27 species have become extinct. So this is a large number which extinction is showing due to the human interference. Now if we take another example of man-made extinction, then it is considered that extinction across taxa or a taxon are not random. For example, some group like amphibians, Some groups like amphibians appear to be more vulnerable, appear to be more vulnerable to extinction. And presently, some 15,500 species worldwide are facing the threat of extinction. So some 15,500 species are facing worldwide a threat of extinction, and they include number one, 12% of all bird species, of all bird species. Second, 23% of mammal species. Third, 31% of gymnosperm species. And fourth, 32% of all amphibian species. Okay, so this much loss occurred, and these are the species which are facing the threat of extinction. Now, after this type of extinction, one more thing is that this anthropogenic extinction, this anthropogenic extinction is causing a sixth mass extinction of species, is causing sixth mass extinction of species, and it is 100 to 1000 times faster than the rate of natural extinction. It is 100 to 1000 times more faster than the rate of natural extinction. And ecologist says that ecologist warns us that if present trend continues, if present trend of biodiversity losses continues, nearly half of the species, nearly half of the species on earth might be wiped out, might be wiped out within the next 100 years, within the next 100 years. Okay, so this is the what anthropogenic extinction, a sixth extinction, sixth mass extinction, which is considered. So, if such a way by the natural mass or anthropogenic extinction is the loss of biodiversity occurring, now what are going to be the results of loss of biodiversity? Results of loss of biodiversity. Now, this results of loss of biodiversity in a region, in a region, it may lead to the first thing, that is decline in plant production and productivity. Decline in plant production and productivity. Then B is reduced resistance, reduced resistance to environmental perturbations, to environmental perturbations like drought. And C, increased variability of ecosystem. Increased variability of ecosystem processes like productivity, water use, waste, and disease cycles. Okay, so all these things are shown due to the result of plant production will decrease. Okay, obviously biodiversity is losses, so stability will loss, so the resistance to the environmental changes will be reduced, and there is an increase in variability like productivity, water use, waste, and disease cycles, and all this getting harmed. Okay, so this is the what particularly loss of biodiversity occurs. Now the question is, what are the causes of this biodiversity losses? So we have to understand now the causes of biodiversity losses. So the process of extinction has been rather rapid during the last 100 years because of increasing exploitation of the wildlife by the men. We are the Gandhi said that the greed, when the need turns into the greed, this can happen. According to Gandhi, if we consider here, then if we the wildlife exploitation of wildlife is increasing day by day by the human, and due to this, the large number of species are lost in the last 100 years, and who is gradually emerging as one of the major evolutionary force. And it is also considered that about 10% of the living species are threatened with the extinction. Whatever the species are living today, out of this 10% are at the risk of extinction. They may get extincted any time. So the factor contributing to the extinction of species are discussed below. What are the factors which are going to particularly when? So world is facing accelerated rate of species extinction largely due to the human activities, and there are four major causes of biodiversity losses that we are going to discuss here. So this factor which are contributing to the extinction of species, or we can say four major causes of biodiversity loss, we can call it as the evil quartet, means four things which are important or causes of this biodiversity. First is habitat loss and fragmentation. Second, overexploitation. Third, alien species invasion. And fourth, that is co-extinction. So these are the four things: habitat loss and fragmentation, overexploitation, alien species invasion, and co-extinction. These are the four major causes which are responsible for the causes of or which are the causes of biodiversity losses. So now we have to discuss this four causes and one by one. So first we are going to talk about the habitat loss and fragmentation. And it is considered that it is the most important cause driving animals and plants to the extinction. So it is the most important or major cause of loss of biodiversity. And if we talk about habitat destruction is the most serious threat to the wildlife, specifically plant and animals, and it is a primary cause of extinction. It is considered as, and when we know talk about the people, individuals, when people cut down the trees, fill a wetland, plow a grassland, or burn a forest, the natural habitat of a species is changed or destroyed. And these changes can kill or force out many plants, animals, and microbes, as well as disrupt a complex interaction among species. The most dramatic example of a habitat loss come from the tropical rainforest. Okay, and this forest once occupied 14% of the land area. Today they occur only on the 6% of the land area. See, the most dramatic example of habitat loss, the tropical rainforest, once covering greater than 14% of the Earth's land surface, and this now cover not more than 6%. The area is decreased, and it is also considered that by the time you finish this chapter, reading this chapter, 1,000 more hectares of rainforest would have been extinct or would have been lost. So Amazon rainforest, which is also considered as the lungs of the planet, they harbor probably million of species that is being cut and cleared for a cultivation of soybean. This is one of the important question. We remember Amazonian rainforest are cleared and cut for the cultivation of soybean and for the conservation of grassland for raising beef cattle and for the conservation of the grassland for the raising beef cattle. This two things important for this particular Amazonian rainforest are being cut and their particular area which they covered that has decreased. So these are destroyed by many human activities explained below. First, deforestation. Deforestation means removal of the forest that deprives the wildlife of its cover and food. Okay, its protection and food because of the restriction of wildlife or wild plants. And if the with the deforestation reduces the area of the free movement that retard the reproductive capacity of animals like rhino and tiger, because till that the plants are there, forests are there, they are habitat and they have adapted well, so they can carry out their all activities very well. But if the plants are getting removed, the particular survival will be in danger. Apart from this, development of work are also there. Various developmental works are going on. Roads, railways, industries, mines, human settlement, dam, harbor, reservoir, pastures, cropland, plantation, etc. are occurring day by day and increasing, and that reducing the natural habitat of wildlife. And apart from this, habitat fragmentation is also occurring. Large habitat are broken into small fragments. It reduces the core area and increases the edge area. Means core area, the which is required for this particular survival, that is decreasing. So mammals and birds requiring a large territories and migratory animals are badly affected, obviously. So besides total loss, the degradation of many habitats by pollution also threatens the survival of many species. Pollution may reduce and eliminate populations of sensitive species. Pesticide-linked decline in fish-eating birds and falcons can be seen. Lead poisoning is another major cause of mortality in many species such as duck, swan, and crane. You should remember this is the important examples. Okay, so this you should remember that lead poisoning is another major cause of mortality of many species such as ducks, swans, and cranes. And eutrophication, that is nutrient enrichment of water bodies, drastically reduces the species diversity. Okay, so these all factors are ultimately reducing the biodiversity. So that is the habitat loss and fragmentation. Apart from this, second cause of biodiversity loss is overexploitation. As I told you, hunting of an animal for a food, safety, and pleasure. For what? Food, safety, and pleasure has been in practice over since appearance of the man. Okay, and humans have always been dependent on nature for food and shelter. But when need turns to greed, it leads to overexploitation of the natural resources. And because of this, we can say large scale destruction of wildlife occurred with the use of fire as a means of hunting. Excessive hunting, that is the overexploitation, has caused the disappearance of the cheetah, that is the fastest mammal of India, dodo, unique bird of Mauritius, this all got extincted. And this dodo of Mauritius, passenger pigeon, Stiller sea cow, Tasmanian wolf have been become extinct due to the overexploitation in the last 500 years. In the last 500 years. So it means the overexploitation, overuse of organism is going on, and it means biological system should not be exploited beyond the degree of renewability. And one more example is that health hen disappeared due to the both hunting and habitat destruction. So now some commercial important species of marine fishes are likely to become endangered because marine fish population are being over harvested all over the world. So there is a important that if overexploitation goes on, then too much biodiversity loss is going to occur. So it should be ensured that biological system should not be exploited, should not be exploited beyond the degree of renewability. Okay, beyond the degree of renewability, you will not you cannot exploit, otherwise the loss of biodiversity occurs. The third cause of biodiversity loss is the introduction of exotic species or alien species. So new species entering a geographical region, a particular geographical region, then these new species are called as exotic or alien or non-native species. When alien species are introduced unintentionally or deliberately for whatever the purpose, they may cause the disappearance of the native or indigenous species through changed biotic interaction. So this species become invasive and is considered another potent factor for the extinction of species. And they intentionally or unintentionally, they are going to cause a disappearance of the native species. So if we take some of the examples, water hyacinth plant is there is a Conia crassipus, lantana grass is there, lantana camera, congress grass parthenium sterophorus, Nile perch, Euphatium, odoratum, and African caterpillar is there, and these are the native species are adversely affected. These all are the particular exotic species. The native species are adversely affected by intention or a chance introduction of these exotic species. And if we take a first example, the Nile perch. It is known that a Nile perch, a large predator fish, it is a large predator fish which was introduced in the Lake Victoria of East Africa. and it led eventually to the extinction of greater than 200 species of the succulent fish in the lake. Nile perch is a predator fish, so it removed the succulent fish because Nile perch killed and eliminated ecologically unique assemblage of these over 200 species of succulent fish that were endemic to the freshwater ecosystem. These succulent fish are love to grow in the freshwater aquatic system. So that were extincted by this Nile perch. So Nile perch is an exotic species. Apart from this, the recent illegal introduction of the African catfish, that is the Clarias garipinus, for the aquaculture purposes, is posing a threat to the indigenous catfish of our fuel. Obviously, it causing the threat. Apart from this, the carrot grass, that is Parthenium, that is a weed which came into India as a contaminated. It is a weed which came into India as a contaminant with imported wheat, and it has occupied all open areas, exterminating or removing many herbs and shrubs. So that is the carrot grass. Apart from this, it is also known that another is the lantana. The lentilla is a shrub of tropical America. It is a shrub of tropical America, and which got introduced in India, which got introduced accidentally in India. Today, it becomes a serious weed. It becomes a serious weed which has replaced many species in forests. So because of this lantana and this carrot grass are also the alien species which got introduced. Apart from this, if we take one more example, then water hyacinth, we know very well to it. That is Icornia crassipus. That was introduced by Europeans in India. It was introduced by Europeans in India, and it has clogged water bodies, including wetlands at many places, resulting in resulting in death of several aquatic plants and animals. Okay, so this are the particular imported or alien species which have made a loss of the some of the native species. So exotic species have the maximum harmful effect on the island ecosystem because of the small size and small number of species of the island ecosystem organism. The exotic species have maximum harmful effects. Therefore, island harbor much of the world's threatened biodiversity. Okay, be remember, island harbor or island have world's most threatened biodiversity. Okay, so that is the third cause, that is the alien species invasion. And now we are going to discuss the last one, that is the fourth cause of this evil quartet or biodiversity, or that is the co-extinction of the co-evolved species, and which are related in an obligatory way, means which are showing the symbiotic association, which two, whenever the two species are in an obligate association, means these two species without each other cannot survive, then this the loss of one can lead to the loss of another. So plant pollinator insect culture is one of the example. And there are many obligate association amongst the different species in ecosystem. When one of the species become extinct, the plant and animal species associated with that in obligatory way that are also going to become extinct. So co-evolved plant pollinator mutualism result in extinction of one partner if the other is eliminated in nature, and the host fish become extinct. All the parasite exclusively found on it will also become extinct. That is also another example. Okay, so if fish become extinct, the parasites which are dependent on them that are going to also extinct. So this is the what a particularly a co-extinction. And this all are the habitat loss and fragmentation, overexploitation, alien species invasion, and co-extinction are the four major causes of biodiversity losses that you should remember. Now we have understood loss of biodiversity. What is the loss of biodiversity? What are the causes of biodiversity loss? Now, who is susceptible for extinction? That is the last thing which we discuss in this. Who is susceptible for extinction? So species are more susceptible or vulnerable to the extinction have following population characteristics. If they have a large body size, there is a chance that they may get extinct. And the example is the rhinoceros and lion. Same way, if they have a small population size and low reproductive rate, if they are in a few number, like giant panda and blue whale, then there is also a chance of their extinction. If they have a higher trophic level in food chain, means they are at the third or fourth trophic level, means they are the top carnivore or a tertiary carnivore, that like the bald eagle and Bengal tiger, there is a chance of their may get extinction. And the fixed habitat and migratory route. If there is a fixed habitat and the migratory route, if they do not show variation in their normal habitat and migratory routes, like the whooping crane and the blue whale, that may have a chance of the particular extinction. Okay, so this is the what we can say about the causes of biodiversity loss, and the susceptibility to the particularly what a loss. Okay, so now we have talked about the loss. Now about the conservation, we will talk in the separate lecture. Okay, I hope dear students you have understood well. Thank you everyone.